Hey, well, Morgan World Entertainment, and yes, you can see apparently Tom Hardy wants back in with MobLands. There's still kind of the back and forth as to whether he was fired, whether he's on his last warning, whatever. But it seems to be that he wants back in, so there's definitely the case that they were going to get rid of him and stuff like this. And of course, Helen Mirren is now backing him as well. Which is interesting, seeing as like she was one of the people supposedly made weight. Well, the whole cast, I suppose, were made weight, but it is this weird situation. Like, what exactly has gone on? What is happening? So let's dive into this and take a look, because Tom Holland, or Hardy, I should say, Tom Holland, really is the backbone of MobLand, and I don't think Paramount can afford to get rid of him. So it says here, Tom Hardy isn't waiting for Paramount Plus to come to him. He's making the case himself. In the latest beat from the MobLand saga, Puck News Matt Belloni reports that a meeting is set in London as Hardy pushes to return to the Paramount Plus crime drama for season 3. So, as for an update on Hardy's firing, Belloni said, "There's a meeting tomorrow in London. He wants back in, so we'll see if the charm offensive works." Now, I believe the meeting then was set for Friday, or maybe Saturday. I think it was one of those 2 days. So, because this kind of popped up the other day, so I think it was the Friday. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. So that's the clearest signal yet that the fired narrative has flipped. So it follows trades confirming talks were underway, and co-star Helen Mirren publicly backing Hardy, saying she'd work with him again in an effing heartbeat. Hardy stars as Harry D'Souza. Say all that 3 times faster. The fixer caught between the warring Harrigan crime family. The show, which also stars Mirren and Pierce Brosnan, became Paramount Plus's biggest global series premiere ever, after drawing 2.2 million viewers on premiere day, which is exactly why the idea of moving forward without Hardy never made sense. The reversal has been building for weeks. The story began with exit rumours tied to reshoots and behind-the-scenes clashes before fan backlash, and Hardy himself entering talks to return swung the momentum back his way. I don't know if the fan backlash did it as much as Hardy himself and maybe Helen Mirren saying, like, no, keep him. So now it comes down to a single meeting, and whether Hardy's charm offensive lands. Will update when it does. So, again, you're kind of seeing where it is kind of a bit strange. Like, just the narrative of, well, he walked away. Then it was like, there was issues. Then it was he was fired. Then it was he wasn't quite fired, but he's on a warning. And it was just kind of back and forth. We're still not 100% sure. It's like, did you fire him or what is going on? Now, keep in mind, up to this point, MobLand Season 3, I don't think has actually been greenlit, or was it? I can't quite remember whether the other article said it was. I think it was. But it is kind of like, if he is brought back, which I think he will be, because, you know, once you just look at the narrative that, yeah, the dude is the show. It doesn't work without him. Paramount will probably go, okay, we can't really afford to lose him. But I think the question strongly becomes, what kind of, not so much demands, but what effort do they put in to make sure that he's on set on time, that he's not clashing with people, all this stuff. Now, when I say clashing with people, the only people he apparently was clashing with were the writers and the producers. That he wanted to make some changes to stories, or at least parts of his dialogue and stuff like that, and they were furious about this, even though that happens all the time. So I don't get why they were so angry, you know. Especially if they were kind of making these bold changes that him himself, being the character, knows won't work. It makes sense that he could step in and say, I think you should change that. And I doubt he was the only one doing that. You know, when you have the likes of Pierce Brosnan there, and Helen Mirren there, and what's his name? Paddy Constantine, isn't it? I think, or something like that. I'm sure a lot of them were kind of saying, could you change this a little bit and stuff like that. They didn't even know whether they wanted Pierce Brosnan to do an Irish accent or not. Now, obviously, Pierce Brosnan is Irish. His accent, it's kind of a mix between Irish and English, to be honest. But he's doing a traveller's, if you like, voice in MobLand. So, and apparently it was like the day of shooting when they turned around and told him, do an accent. Because they were going back and forth. You can see the interview with Pierce Brosnan where he says this. Where he's like, they wanted me to do an accent. Then the studio was like, don't have him do an accent. Then the studio were like, have him do an accent. And the writers and producers and directors were saying, we kind of moved past that. And then the day before they were to shoot, or shooting day, they were like, do an accent. And he kind of panicked and just ended up doing an accent. So you can see if there was stuff like that happening, it's clear that there would be moments where some of the cast are probably saying, could you come up with a decision by X, Y time? Otherwise, I'm just doing what I have to do. Maybe that's what has happened with Tom Hardy a little bit there. Maybe it was the case of, we don't want you to do this type of thing, and then on the day of shooting something, we actually need you to do this, where he's been probably rehearsing to himself and stuff, where his character goes in one certain direction, and then all of a sudden they're like, actually we need you to do it this way, and then kind of throws everything into a whole new mess. I don't know. I really don't know what is going to happen with this, how all this came about. That, yeah, they're saying he clashed with the producers and the writers. They say that he kept the cast waiting for hours on end, and that his attitude is just very difficult to work with. And that is doing the rounds, not just on MobLand, but at crapness stuff, that he has been incredibly awkward to work with at times. But at least Helen Mirren seems to love working with the dude anyway, regardless of being made wait and stuff. He is kind of the face of the show. Yes, it is much more of an ensemble show. He is the main character, really, but at the same time, you need all those other characters around, and that was apparently one of his issues, that it was becoming more of an ensemble. But he is the figurehead that if you lose him, the show's pretty much done. Yeah, you still have the strong characters and actors there of Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren and whatnot, but at the same time, you can't lose Hardy. So be very interesting to see what actually happens with it. But what do you guys think? Do you think he was fired? Do you think he walked away? Do you think this is just a weird mess? Maybe it's even a publicity stunt to just try and drum up more interest, even though there's massive interest in the show. I doubt it's that, but let me know what you think about all this, and of course the possibility of him doing this charm offensive and coming back. So let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, hit that hype button, all that good stuff. Cheers, I'll catch you in the next one.